to Bear Lifestyle, the podcast where we talk about taboo topics to make them normal and acceptable. I'm your host, Simona Spark, and I'm so happy that you are here. We are about to get naked by stripping away insecurities, judgments, and all kinds of limitations to reveal the essence of who we really are, Bear. Bold, authentic, radical, express. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Bear Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you for being here. Let's start with celebrations. I'm celebrating myself, celebrating you, and everyone who listens and watches this podcast. Cheers, cheers. Well, today is different, and here's how. I was having a conversation with my dear friend, Michael. So we were talking, and then he says, men are so repressed, and I think they're even more horny because they're repressed. I'm like, wait. We need to record this. So I pushed the record button because I'm like, this is some juice coming into this conversation. And before you know it, we created today's podcast. So it was unplanned, as most of things are, and I hope you really enjoy it. But before that, I just want to invite you to open the show notes because Queen's Dungeon and King's Dungeon, they are both open, fully uploaded in Spark Transformation Academy and ready for you to walk in and have fun. So both dungeons are created with a very clear intention: sexual liberation. The inner work that we get to do in those workshops are multi-layered. So on one layer, you get to identify, heal, and release a lot of past trauma, past pain, present insecurities, and shame and guilt around sexual expression. A second layer that gets to happen into the space, it's a deep transformation. You get to walk on a journey of self-discovery and self-exploration that is going to transform how you think, how you feel, and how you believe about sex and sexuality. And with the amazing side effect, just make you a better lover. And the third layer of this inner work is really creating a deeper connection with yourself and deeper connection with people that you are in relationship with. So come on in as you are. Clothing is optional because those are recording workshops. Nobody's going to see you. You don't get to see anybody. I'm just here to advocate for body positivity and sensuality and confidence. So do what feels right for you, but open the show notes and look at those dungeons, choose yours, and I will see you inside. And for now, I'm just going to let you into this a very juicy conversation that I have with Michael, as I say, unplanned. So I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Oh my God, it's 11:11. Yes, people, it's 11.
It is. It's 11:11. Look at that. I mean, right? It's Simona.
You were saying men are so repressed while men are so horny.
Right. Men are incredibly repressed. And it's, in a way, I almost feel like they're more horny because they're repressed, because they're not freely expressing themselves authentically sexually. Because a lot of men, especially because of our the notions that we have about sexual orientation in this country, there's a lot of men in this country that are actually probably more bisexual or bi-curious than we know, that we don't really know the true numbers. And it's because there's so much pressure in Western society, well, it's in Eastern society too, in civilization, to be heterosexual. And so, for gay men, this has been a big journey over the last 40 years, because we went from the AIDS epidemic, where this was it was literally a plague, to being able to manage it with medication. We made great advances. We had wonderful shows like Will and Grace come along that opened up the doors for gay men to be more authentic and be themselves and come out of the closet. We had people like Ellen and Rosie O'Donnell and some really high profile Elton John. People came out and they were like, okay, well, if they can do it, this is who I am. I'd like to really be able to express that. But there's a lot of people in this country that I think are kind of somewhere in the middle. Like they have attractions for men and women. Or maybe they have more of an attraction for men, but they don't want to admit that, or they don't want to, live authentically. And so we have a repressed culture. And so one of the reasons why I want to do more content on the subject of kinks and fetishes is because I feel like it's a signpost. It's almost like a road sign towards your sexuality. It was for me.
Hold on, I want to pause there because this is good. This is good. I love your view. And this is how we're going to end up working together. There will be no other way.
Yes.
In this space. Sorry to cut you off, but it's like, it was a lot of share. And I just want to insert my view because like from the gender point state of view and sexual orientation and attraction, like we are on the opposites, right? The gay man and the straight woman. My work recently, it's in a frame of let's let go of the sexual labels,
right,
and let's focus on sexual expression to the point that even the kink and the fetishes, they're like very strong labels that already it send one's mind into some like crazy shit. But who's to decide what's crazy, right?
Right.
So in my work, I want to invite the clients, the subjects, I like to call them subjects, little dominatrix over here, is what about this is not a fetish? What about this is not a kink? What about this is like how you experience pleasure? Because it is.
That's right.
Right? So even those labels get to be eliminated, right?
They do, and sorry to interrupt, but here's why I don't want a world with labels at all, but we have it. So what we have to do is, in order for me to bring people in and help them get a context and understanding of where I'm coming from, I have to use these labels to hook you.
It's a marketing tool.
It's kind of like, I mean, I actually completely agree with you. And in fact, I wish that these weren't separate topics at all, because they're really not. Right. In fact, for many of us that have what we call kinks and fetishes, it is our sexuality. Like I'm not into traditional gay sex at all. I'm not into it.
But see, even with that, because I've been with straight men. So for example, I said it many times in media, on my podcast. I asked one man, I say, did you ever give a blowjob? And his answer was, I'm not gay. I'm like, that's not what I asked you.
Right.
Sucking somebody's dick, it doesn't make you gay. I'm just curious if you have that experience.
Right.
Something to think about or to consider.
Yeah.
And then I asked another man about that, and he was like, no, I didn't. That's a really good question. And he stopped and he wondered.
Yeah.
And we have a full-on conversation about, it's just about having the experience on the other end of things. Things in the cock.
Right. Yes.
And
the other end.
Because there is a level of expectation as a receiver.
Right.
So it's like, but you don't know anything about what that is as a giver. And same goes for anal sex, right? And it's like, no, I'm not gay. I'm like, okay, so how do you, if that's your mindset and that's your belief, okay, I respect that. But then how do you qualify, or how do you judge or label a woman when she receives anal sex? Is she gay? Is she like a gay man? Like, what are we talking about here?
Exactly.
Is to say that if you're a gay man, that means anal sex. Like, no, it's like all these body parts that are holding some amazing pleasure points, right? And then you are in another person, and it's just you just explore those.
Exactly.
And like even the idea of orgies or whatever is like that absolutely, it's evaporated from my mind because they're just like multiple people experiencing pleasure through sex, different parts of bodies or different parts of people,
Yeah.
men, women, transgender, who the fuck cares?
Right. Right.
Because they're like, when you're there, everything is off the window. You don't sit there and say, oh, I'm with a gay man, or oh, I'm with a woman.
Right.
Think of that. You just like,
Well,
if really present, you don't think of any of those.
right. Well, and that's part of the problem that I have, Simona, is that these men, they are literally, they go through life with these labels, and so they don't allow themselves to freely be who they are. And that's actually
Don't allow themselves. They're
he
missing out.
your guy that you were talking about made a great point, which is, and this is exactly what we're talking about. He associated oral sex with being gay,
Yeah.
rather than just associating it with being a human being that's curious about something. This is why, like, you have all these curious boys in college, who I've heard all the stories, and I've even been there, where, like, there's a lot of experimentation in college because it's kind of the time when you experiment for a lot of young men and women. And but it's like they're afraid to, once they get past that stage, they're afraid to talk about it because they're like, oh no, that means I'm gay. It means, like, there's this label now. And so what I like about kind of using the kink world is a very open-minded world, actually, and this is why I like this community so much, because the fetish communities are very comfortable with who they are, and like they're more comfortable with their body image. They're more free because they've already kind of been through the journey of being like getting over this taboo, whatever this happens to be.
Right.
And so they're so empowered to think about themselves in this way, that it used to be that the only people you could find in the community were older guys, because those are the only people that were willing to be brave enough to post about it. Now, younger men and younger women are being a little more open about saying, I'm into this, and this is kind of what this does for me. And I think it really, what I've seen through my experience being in my community and being as someone that I have lots and lots of followers, is that they love how authentic I am about, and how confident I am about saying, this is who I am and this is what I'm into. And was a this was a pointer to me. This was literally an arrow sign to me being a gay man. And it was my first clue that this is who I was. It had nothing to do. I was attracted to other boys, but like I couldn't figure out really what it meant. And then when you get into adolescence and it kind of gets fuzzy with the hormones, and you start discovering cartoons and movies and things, you're like, oh, this is a thing. And then you're starting to feel things that you never felt before. That's just very powerful to me. And a lot of people are afraid to express that because they're afraid of being judged about it. And they're like, oh, I don't want to be under this label.
That, but also there is still a lot of like lack of education.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And to your point of like how in kink communities, people are open and they're saying the goddamn thing. They're not afraid to speak and to say what they like and to ask for
It's
what
all
they
over
like.
my Twitter. Yep.
Yeah, I'm seeing it that like even on dating apps, like there is those dating apps. I'm like not affiliated, but is like pure and feels right. They're the dating apps that you are actually leading with your sexual expression. Of course, there's a lot of people, they just want to fuck somebody and that's that. But what I appreciate about those apps is like, when I start a conversation with whatever, like this is how I start the conversation. Like that's what interests me first. I don't care about your favorite color. That's not on my interest. You care about, how do you do sex? What's your view on it, right? So in those apps, it's not weird to start the conversation.
Right.
But I always say this in my community, and I hate that we have that community and that community. One day
I know.
is that there is so much judgment, even like, who am I to start the conversation as a woman? like the man should start that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's bullshit. That's my first filter. If you're there, man, like 40 something, 50, and you're just like losing your shit because I talk about them, like, that's a filter. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
I'm not here to raise you, to educate you, go do your thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
keeping this space vacant for that person that is solid.
Right.
They are,
Exactly.
right? But there is a lot of judgment. Like I have men like judging me, like straightforward, like,
Sure.
what? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we are not 12 anymore.
Right.
And this is so, as I say in my dungeons training, is the biggest part of our life.
Mm-hmm.
It's our sexuality, relationship, romantic relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
we never learn about it. Like a
Right.
full after me, it was like, let's do it in school. Classes on
Mm-hmm.
sex, classes on how to date at
Mm-hmm.
different stage in life, classes and curricula on kinks and fetishes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's teach the children.
I agree, and I'll tell you another reason why I think it really is so important. I have learned more about myself through what I'm into and my experiences of it, and experiencing being
Yes.
on both the dominant side and the submissive side of it. And I'm more on the submissive side of it now. But that also is a funny thing, because there's these labels that go with it. Because the funny thing about it is, I'm considered kind of an alpha, which is, I mean, I'm very alpha, and I mean, we both have alpha energy. But I like being submissive because I like releasing control, and I like being kind of experiencing.
That's the very definition of an alpha. Like you only qualified as an alpha if we hold on the labels,
Yeah.
if you know how to just pass the power to
Right.
the other person, because it's like, yeah, people look at me like I'm a dumb, but it's like I'm only till the point when
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, those are the requirements, the commands, the demands, the whatever, and I have to fully surrender to receiver in order for my partner to
Right.
fulfill the
Yeah.
task, right? So it's like,
Exactly.
and that's what I like that play. I think they call it shifters.
Okay.
That play of power. I don't know. I try to use as less label as possible, but the power dynamic
A
between
switch.
the
They call it a
participant,
switch.
the
Yeah.
switch, not the shift, the switch.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you're right. It's there is no other space more vulnerable than that. And
Mm-hmm.
if you really want to really, really know yourself, you need to be
Mm-hmm.
in those spaces, like vulnerable,
Yep.
open, safe,
Safe.
and
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter. It
Right.
doesn't matter if it's a kink or fetishes or a vanilla sex or whatever.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. It's
Exactly.
like you create that sacred space where you have
Mm-hmm.
an agreement with another human or humans with
Mm-hmm.
what's happening. So there's that trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's safe. And change and transformation could only happen in a safe, vulnerable space. I mean, we know
Mm-hmm.
that from years of coaching. You
Mm-hmm.
sit with the client a whole year. If they never open up, there is
Mm-hmm.
no transformation going on.
Mm-hmm.
You could hold the safe space for somebody, but if they're not willing to be vulnerable, there is no change that occurs.
That's right. That's right.
So when you're there, like bare naked, tied up, or whatever the shit,
Mm-hmm.
that's what transformation happens. That was change happen. That's when you really, really, really get to know yourself.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
that's why I lead the conversation in dating, when dating with sex. And it is my intention to have a sexual experience with this
Mm-hmm.
new person that I met, because
Mm-hmm.
if I'm there, I know things about you that you never share,
Mm-hmm.
because I trust myself into how I'm reading this person and the energy.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if you're like this and this and that and it's checking on the boxes, but then, you know,
Yep.
the sex is just
Mm-hmm.
non-existent. Or, I mean, I know as a woman of a certain age that, and completing 3 marriages,
Mm-hmm.
we women, we are conditioned to tolerate a lot,
Mm-hmm.
don't speak out, don't ask,
Mm-hmm.
because if a woman asks, she's a whore.
Mm-hmm.
If a man asks, he's just like, super cool,
I
macho dude,
know. Yeah.
right? And I've been in a relationship when I asked, and he was like just kind of laughing at me, and I just internalized that. And then I ask again, and then his response like, "Why would you want that?" And I'm like, now he's questioning my desires,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
I stop asking.
Yeah.
And then when you stop asking, you just start resenting your partner, and you
Yeah.
make yourself wrong. Oh, is something wrong with me? I'm weird,
Right.
you know.
Hmm.
Um, and that's the work that I'm just so passionate about, because I am, as
Hmm.
I say, the guinea pig of the work, as you are. You
Right.
took us to all the things.
Totally. Yeah.
So we know how to hold the space for a person that want to do that, right?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
also have this zillions of millions of coaching tools that
Hmm.
that we could work with in those spaces. So
Hmm.
it's not about, I mean, I do say like becoming a better lover, but when I say becoming a better lover is like for yourself first. And I am
Right.
teaching self-pleasure as like the very fundamental place
Right.
to start with. That's what I'm teaching in dungeons.
Yeah.
Is you cannot come into my space and pretend that you know how to satisfy me. Like if we
Hmm.
stretch it to like how to have a great experience,
Hmm.
you don't even know how to satisfy yourself. If you
Right.
can't even be in your own body, if you don't even know your points. And I see that with women a lot. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, my husband, my boyfriend, whatever. It's like they don't care, they don't whatever. I'm like, okay, I've been there when I say my partner doesn't care, but I also need to recognize that I didn't took the time to actually care for myself.
Hmm.
I don't know where my points are, my ins and outs.
Yeah.
Like, why would I expect the other person to know? They don't know.
Right.
So learn yourself, know yourself, and
Right.
then next phase, how do you communicate it? And the hardest part of all, I mean, I don't know if it's the hardest part, but that's what breaks relationship and marriages and all,
Yeah.
is to don't hold on your desire. To just
Hmm.
say, okay, it's okay. Well, we've been married for 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm 60,
I know.
it's
Yeah.
dry or whatever.
The
And I'm
well is
like, girl,
yeah. I know. It's
you have a
funny.
whole body besides that to
Well, and
experience.
I'll tell you why I think this work has so much value too, and why what you're doing, what I'm going to be doing, and what I already am doing through my presence.
Yes.
Is the reason it's important is because men and women really do want to be better at connecting sexually with other people. It's
Yeah.
a real innate desire that we have. We've just kind of been raised not really with the education, like you were saying, to really know what or how to express it. It's like we want the desire is there, but no one really knows exactly what to do with that desire. And so in some ways they just need someone like a Simona or someone like me or whomever to give them almost like permission to just go for it and just be yourself and explore it. Sometimes you just need someone to say, hey, I've got your back, support, go, let's go do it, let's talk about it, and
Right.
let's give you some motivation and accountability so that you can do this without feeling so much fear around it and so much kind of like shame around it. Big word that you brought up a long time ago about gay men. I mean,
I
shame.
mean, shame is the biggest thing when it comes to
Hmm.
sex. But
Hmm.
hey, here we are to just tell people to say, look,
Hmm.
and I know it's overused. If I could done it, you could do it. But it's true though,
So
right?
true.
Because
Yeah.
it's like I cannot believe the sexual experiences that I'm having this day. What I'm closing, close to 50s as you are,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
While three marriages and abuse in any type and shape or form that you could imagine, right? Grow up like with zero information, communist
Right.
country. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm talking about some like very shitty extreme situation of growing up with no electricity and water. So
Yeah.
sex and sexuality was not on the radar, right?
Right.
And then you go through just being a suppressed woman that is not allowed and doesn't have a say. So you just kind of have to
Hmm.
sit there because it's Saturday and you have a husband and that's what you do. So rape
Yeah.
in marriage, like every week, because it's without consent.
Yeah.
And you just take it because like
Hmm.
that's what you do because you're a married woman.
Right.
And then when he goes and cheat with another one, people are blaming you on you that you are not capable of satisfying your husband. So I went
Right.
through that
It's
shit,
your
right?
fault. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it's a lot of guilt, it's a lot of shame. And I'm telling you, first time that I have sex with another man after my first divorce,
Mm-hmm.
I ran to my sister crying, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt so dirty. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like everybody knows that what I was doing last night.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the belief was. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, you just have sex with a guy and you're not married and you're a divorced woman and you're a mother with a child. Like,
Right.
I can't even. I talk a lot about it in the book, right?
Yeah.
Uh, what I'm sharing this is that there is always a way. You have the
Mm-hmm.
capacity and the ability to heal all those things. You've been
Mm-hmm.
raped, I'm sorry. You could heal it,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a survivor of human trafficking, like I thought that everything was clear when I published the book,
Mm-hmm.
but after that, it started the real work of healing the relationship with men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have so many friends, gay men. I mean, really, because it's part of the work and
Mm-hmm.
on the mission here to change the future for my son
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Sure.
But underneath of that was I felt safe with the gay man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have a lot of gay men friends, because I
Yeah.
felt safe with them.
Mm-hmm.
And even I choose some bad ones just because
Mm-hmm.
they're gay. And I
Right.
know they're not gonna rape me and they don't have interest in this.
Yeah.
So it's like so many underlines, right?
There
But
are. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and then if you don't mind, like you could speak to just growing up gay.
Yeah.
How much shame is in that? How many layers goes into that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and especially, and I, of course, I had some additional layers with the fact that my older brother was gay. Um, I was, I'm a very interesting story because I knew from a very early age that I was gay. And even though I knew society had some opinions about that, I was also not too afraid of addressing it at the time. I mean, I definitely had some moments where I was like, "Oh, it's kind of heavy." But like I had a weird confidence at a very early age that everything was going to be fine and that this was so naturally who I was that I was just going to be able to deal with it. I trusted that I was going to be able to deal with it down the road. And
Mhm.
so I didn't address it. I didn't come out, when I was younger, but I did some things when I was in middle school and like not experimented, kinda. I was definitely asked a couple of times if I was gay by friends, but not because of mannerisms or anything like that, but because of kind of like flirtation and kind of flirtatious
Right,
energy that I would put out. And
right,
like I was feeling myself. I was a young adolescent man, not man, kid, that was coming to terms with his sexuality. And so there's so many layers to that. And discovering my sexuality through my fetishes and everything was kind of interesting too, because, for me, at the time, gay men were kind of seen as flamboyant, Liberace,
right,
Elton, who I think is wonderful. But like, it was kind of seen as a certain guy, and I didn't see myself in those men.
right.
Like it wasn't me. I was just this boy from Texas that liked football, and I kind of was like a lot of the other boys, and
Mhm.
yet I was very same sex attracted, and I knew it. And so but at the same time, I didn't beat myself up over it, Simona. And like I went through high school having wet dreams about Zach Morris on Saved by the Bell, and like that's all these kind of characters.
Zach, we have the same taste
And
back
I
then.
was like, it's funny. I haven't had a chance to meet him yet, but I think it'd be kind of funny. But like I really was just so comfortable with myself, and I knew that when the time came, it would be okay. The curveball was Mark, my brother. So when I was in junior in high school, I get home from school, my mom is like, we have to talk. Your brother has AIDS and he is very ill. He's in the hospital. He lived for 3 more months. And I was like, oh boy, because I knew the stigma of it. I knew that it
Yeah,
was being associated with gay men. And I was kind of like, well, this really throws a wrench in things because now I was kind of starting to get to this point where I was like, I have to maybe I'm going to get to this point where I can come out sooner than I thought I did. And then this happened. And
Right.
and my mother was heartbroken. Of course she was heartbroken, but she's also liberal. So she liked gay people. And so she wasn't judgmental about us. And I knew
But
that we were kind
still,
of,
for a kid, is like, how can I bring this to my mother when she just
yeah,
lost her
when she
son?
just lost her first son to
Gay
AIDS,
son.
gay son, and she's going to
Yeah,
think I'm going to go down the same path. It
absolutely.
was really hard to be me at the time. I mean, it was
Can't even
really,
imagine.
I was in the middle of high school and I was trying to live my high school life. I had my best friend and my friends, and I was on yearbook staff and I was in cheerleading. And like I was really close with this big group of people. And I was just trying to live my life as a teenager. And like all of this happened. And so all of these different layers kind of compounded as a gay man. And I think the thing about it is I never saw myself as a gay man. You mentioned this is why, so I love that you strip the labels away from things. I was just this boy that liked other boys.
Yeah.
That's what I was. I didn't like any label of it. I didn't have any, I mean, I have some interests that are similar to gay men, some of the singers and some of the movies I like, but I also have interests that are
So
very aligned with straight men.
stereotypes.
Yeah, I mean, I've got I mean, a lot of people think I'm straight if they don't know me. So I mean, it's like I think you are who you are, authentically, just at your core. The labels are horse shit, but the labels have scared so many people away from being themselves because they don't want to be the label, and so they never allow themselves the chance. And they'll be a gay man and they'll marry a woman, and like
And
we got lots of people.
that is powerful. I just want to say it one more time for who didn't catch it.
Mhm.
You deny yourself your own identity just because you don't want to be judged by that label.
Mhm.
And that's, I think you just nail it. It's what
Exactly.
most people do, because
Mhm.
regardless, whatever we want to do, we just the reason we don't
Yeah,
do it is because we don't want to be judged, and
that's
we don't
right.
do it. So
Totally. That's why I feel so powerful right now.
yeah,
I mean, and people wonder why I look like I'm walking on the air, right now, why I'm so
because you are
confident.
walking on
I
the air.
teach, I teach confidence. I'm a confidence coach.
Yeah,
It's because I'm freaking confident because I
yeah,
know exactly who I am. I know what I bring to the table. And I'm not questioning myself based on religious oppression or anything. And I'm a spiritual person that's
yeah.
very in touch with something that's greater than me. But I believe that who I've always been is in alignment with God. I've never felt separate from God as a gay man.
If God put us on this planet,
Yeah.
I mean, we are His making, and I'm not going to go into a whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Exactly.
know it took me a lifetime to find my path through my own spirituality, but
Hmm.
it was such a relief and so much like inner freedom of like, I'm God,
Hmm.
and that's what I'm teaching. Those I'm
Hmm.
what I'm teaching the kings, you are God, and those
Yeah.
what I'm teaching the
Right.
queen, you are a goddess.
Yeah.
So might as well step into the power and walk as,
Yeah. Because
because
it's
you are a
within
gift.
us.
You are
Yeah.
a gift to this world, and we if we
Absolutely.
just let go of all the labels. When you say like people confuse you sometimes with being a straight man, is because of the labels, because
Labels.
not how you're
Yeah.
supposed to look and behave or
Yeah.
whatever.
It shouldn't matter.
One of my gay former clients, women,
Hmm. Hmm.
she clarified for me, because I'm like, I very often women hit on me,
Hmm.
and I'm like, do I look like a gay woman or whatever? And she was like, well, depends the energy that you are moving in. I'm like, oh duh, because when you're like such in touch with your femininity, with your
Yes.
masculinity, like
Yes.
that's what the attraction is, the energy is not your
Energy.
beautiful brown eyes and whatever, like those are the
I
things that we
agree.
see.
It's the energy.
But how many times we are attracted to people that they're not appealing physically, but it's like, what the hell is wrong with me? I just want to go to this person.
Oh, 100.
It's
Oh,
the energy.
you are so speaking my language right now. I know this exactly. So
It's energy work. It's
it
energy
is.
work, right?
Yeah.
So, but can we agree,
Hmm.
as much as I know you, I just make this like
Right.
assumption that when we talk about fetishes and kinks, there
Right.
are so powerful,
They are.
powerful ways
Mhm.
to do the healing.
Yes. Can I
I mean,
give you
when I ask one of my partners to just tie me to my stripper pole, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Till this day, and it's been months, I'm still integrating that healing,
Mhm.
because it was a time when I
Mhm.
was tied to some things and some serious trauma happened.
Yeah.
So putting yourself into that space, not only that clarifies if you have more healing, but
Right.
you take so much power back, because you're like,
Yeah.
this is, I ask for it,
Mhm.
it's on my command, and I enjoy it. I
Mhm.
draw pleasure from it.
Mhm.
And that's where everything, not there, but it's just
Mhm.
an example. I'm stepping into this new path of like, I don't
Mhm.
even want to talk about trauma anymore.
Mhm.
No, trauma is there, insecurities and shame and fear and guilt and all the things. But taking the sexual energy
Mhm.
to go and just clean the trauma,
Mhm.
pleasure,
Oh yeah. You're hitting it on the head.
this is the containers, this
It
is what
is.
I'm going, this is what I'm creating. Everything that
Yeah.
I learned in 5 years is like, how
Mhm.
can I
Yeah.
transpose that into this most powerful energy that is the sexual energy,
Yeah.
into this most powerful, safe, and vulnerable container that is for change and transformation? And
Mhm.
can we already just fucking heal without the pain and heal
Yeah.
pleasure?
Yeah. Well, that's such a beautiful way of putting it too. And
That's
I
the work.
that is the work. And I can tell you, I can give you a couple examples of how I've seen this play out. So I have friends, some of my really close friends are into the spanking community. And spanking carries a real,
Community, I love
it
that.
carries a real, it's a really a cool group of people too. And it carries a real interesting uh not stigma. I guess it does carry a stigma to it because we've also kind of been raised in a society in the old days. People, parents would spank their children and everything for punishment or
Oh,
discipline.
honey, I grew up in communism. We are like
Yeah.
physically beat up by our
Oh,
teachers.
absolutely. Well, and in the
It was
South,
allowed, and you better don't let your father know, because you get the second round at home.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And in the South, where I'm from, in Texas and beyond, I mean, that's a really big thing. Used to be, not as much anymore. But there's a lot, that community is really interesting because that has a dom and a sub, and the person that's receiving, there has to be a real element of trust there because there's kind of a
Sure.
painful element involved. But they were telling me about it because I'm not in that community, and they were telling me about the psychology of it. And I watched them do a
Yep.
session at Burning Man when I was there, and
Mhm.
I was watching it happen with a guy that had never had it before. And some real interesting healing went on in just that give and take and that trust.
Yeah.
And it was done. It was done in this really powerful adjoining of these two people, these two energies. And it's kind of what I've experienced being a sub, because like when I'm releasing control, because I have big control issues. So when I'm releasing control to somebody, it's changing my life because like my control issues held me back for most of my adult life. Perfectionism, and like my fears. And when you release that, you change as a
You say,
person. And
and
so it's really
it's
transformative.
instant. It's instant change. It's instant transformation. And because you are in a safe space, held by another person that is taking care of you through
Mm-hmm.
pleasure, so is
Mm-hmm.
there to give you pleasure and have a good experience.
Right.
The bigger part of it, you
Mm-hmm.
also integrate that change.
Mm-hmm.
When I have a 10-hour sexual experience with this man, he literally told me, you changed me. And I say, I know I did.
Mm-hmm.
Like completely changed. Go home a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now I'm just taking that to
Mm-hmm.
put it into a container, because I'm not going to
Right.
have sex with every client to help them.
Exactly.
That's
we'd
not the
be
point.
we'd be
That's a
busy.
separate job, right?
Yeah.
But but just creating those containers when people
Yeah.
could walk in, and like even with the dungeons, because I really want to do it live, because I like to be live. It's a different energy.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, okay, this is not about me. I need to be mindful that people that first walk into those spaces,
Yeah.
they are still in hiding,
They're hiding. Yeah.
right? So I want to respect that. And like, I recorded everything and just
That's
like,
smart.
go ahead, do it behind your closed door. I
Yep.
even tell them, lock the door,
Yeah.
you know, do it on your own pace, do it on your own term, on your own time, right?
Right. Right.
But the goal is to get into a space when like, I want to do those retreats. I want to do those retreats like in person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you and me, we could create some
Yeah, for
great.
sure. For
I'm so
sure. Well, I mean, and we also, it could, and it's, I mean, it's, if you think about it, the whole point of living is to, I mean, the word happy is kind of loaded because it's a fleeting term, but you just want to have some kind of sense of purpose in the world. But you also, we do want to feel, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good and feel pleasure. I
It's
don't,
like
I mean,
all I want is to feel pleasure.
that's basically what it is. I mean, so I will never be ashamed of being a part of this community and being so visible because my face is out there. Because a lot of people don't show their faces in in these kind of communities, but I do, because I mean, and a lot of us do, but I do because it means something to people, and I get DMs from people all the time saying I'm so amazed by what you do, and thank you for being so visible because it's inspired me to come to terms with myself. You
Yeah,
can't give me a better compliment than that.
that's where we truly respect everybody where they are, because like, I'm
Yeah.
here to, I really like to stretch people, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm talking about the most vulnerable thing, that the
Yeah.
goal is not stretching anymore. The goal is like, can I bring people into this space?
Yeah.
Uh, not visible. We don't need
Mhm.
to talk. Here's the recording. Here's the materials,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And that's how I could support you
Hmm.
from behind closed doors, and then you come out,
Hmm.
on your own terms, on your own time, and there will
Hmm.
be a space for that, right?
Right.
You can't just say, okay, there is nothing for you, we're just gonna meet on the beach, we're gonna take the clothes off, and we're gonna do a nude session.
Right.
I mean, seriously, if we
Yeah.
could learn it, transpose anything, because like, you get to really transcribe everything for a pleasurable intimacy, sexual experience into life. Like, you
Right.
need to warm up. You
Hmm.
need to warm up. Like, that goes for everything. Like, you need to
Yeah.
work. You need to
You do.
trust. So I want to build those trusting relationship with this, in this new spaces with new people that I never met before, right?
Yeah.
It's a totally different container than any other container that I created so far.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, they don't trust me, and that's absolutely normal. And I
Yeah.
don't know them. So, like, the DMs are crazy. Some are appreciative, some are like inappropriate, some are like marriage proposal. Like, you get
I
all
get all those too. Yep.
but it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's nothing to do with me. It's just, let me know where these people are.
Where they are. That's right.
That me doesn't trigger me.
No, I mean, and it won't. That's the thing about you; it won't phase you, which is good. It's great because, like, I think you're so right on this particular topic. It's smart to do it as a course instead of a live because people are still nervous. They don't really quite want to appear on a live yet, but they will take a course. They will buy a course on it, and then they will contact you through that, and hopefully it leads to something. Either they, like in my case, I'd want them to maybe be potential one-on-one clients
Right,
work
right.
with. I've worked with a lot of clients in my community too, so I mean, it's enjoyable for me, but like, I feel like it gives them they feel safe to kind of like explore and learn.
Relationship, building the safety, building the trust.
Yeah.
You can start with vulnerability,
Yeah.
and vulnerability after, and that is the goal, to have different spaces for different
Yeah.
people. So you meet them where they are, right?
Hmm.
So here we go. So
Hmm.
I think this is going to be an amazing podcast episode.
Hmm. I believe so too. Did we just
We
create
might
a
as well
podcast?
just save it, and this is going to go out next week.
Let's
And it's
do
going
it.
to be just like this. I mean,
But
Go
My
ahead.
lighting is terrible because my light's not on because now it's rain. It's pouring down rain outside my window right now, so it's dark.
Oh my
So
God, I need to
I
be in
was
your neighborhood. I
I
love
didn't
the
know I
rain.
was going to be in a podcast, but so anyway, I'm still here.
I didn't know that I'm going to be in a podcast either, but look, and you will have to just give me a free pass because I'm not an editor and the videos are
Yeah.
not amazing,
No, I'm happy to do it.
but I know you are. But my audience knows, like, it's a good conversation. I hit the record button and then
Yeah.
just go
Well,
publish.
and feel free to share my contact info if they want to reach out to me and ask me any
Yes.
questions. And I'll be happy to answer, and get into.
So we will put in the show notes a link to your Instagram, because in
Yeah.
Instagram then you have the link to your website, to everything. So
Yes. Yes.
I try to keep it simple to don't overwhelm people. You could
Nope.
Instagram's
Instagram's perfect.
one thing, it's perfect. And then all right, you people, and then you're gonna see us again.
Yep.
And next time in the next space.
That's right. You never know where you're going to see us.
Michael.
All right.
And this is where we landed. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you enjoyed the show, make sure you leave me a review to let me know. For more bear experiences, please go to simonaspark.com/bear and follow us on Instagram at Simona Spark World. I can't wait to have you back. Until then, be bear, bold, authentic, radical, expressed. See you next time.